All right, guys, welcome back to coverage of Week 6 of the Louisville Cube League Season 4. Today we're going to be covering a new cube, watching Bats' draft of his Peasant cube, as well as checking in on his final deck, and then watching 3 matches. This was an 8-man draft, so we'll have our full bracket and a guaranteed 3-0 at the end of the day. In case you aren't familiar, a peasant cube is a cube using only cards that have been printed at common or uncommon rarity in any paper set. This means that if a card was originally printed as a rare but has since been printed at uncommon or common, such as Loxodon Warhammer, it is eligible for inclusion in the cube, as well as an online only or playtest card that was printed into a mystery booster set. If you're interested in hearing more about our season structure as a whole, be sure to check out the first video in the Season 4 playlist as it goes more in depth on the structure of our entire season. But for now, let's go ahead and get into the draft with the rest of our commentary crew. All right, so we're jumping right into the draft here. I'm Prose.
Scott?
Bats. Let's see. Sorry, starting to remember what's going on here. Yeah, so this was a relatively empty pack. Mayhem Devil's an obscene card.
Yeah, Mayhem Devil I think is really hard to pass ever in this cube.
Yeah, just one of the signpost cards for the Black Red Sacrifice decks. One of the best cards to have in it. Maybe the best card to have in it. And then the thing you need after that is fodder, right?
Yeah.
So Nog War Marshal represents 3 bodies if you play it right. And worst case scenario, you get a blocker to speed bump.
Right. I'm curious where you would rank the. I am really high on the Black Red Sacrifice deck in this queue. I'm curious where you think it sits power level wise in the archetypes.
Yeah, I think the Nuts Black Red aggro deck might be the best deck in the cube.
Okay.
It's just it comes at you on 3 different angles. It's so hard to deal with.
Scytheclaw Raptor.
But there are. Yeah, Cyclar Raptor there. Just a good value card. I mean, 4/3 prevents life gain. Dismember's a good card. But anyway, back to the sacrifice deck. I mean, it fills the board with creatures, so you have creatures. It deals direct damage, so it gets around, has reach, it has evasion. It just kind of has everything. The downfall with it is that there's a few signature cards, and if you don't get them, it can make the deck fairly hard to play, fairly hard to build correctly.
Well, Mayhem Devil feels like at least half of that combo because.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Now you just need to sacrifice outlet. I was going to say Pitiless Plunder is in here. It has a combo. If you have Pitiless Plunder with Goblin Bombardment and Forsaken Miner, it's an infinite damage combo.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that's why I took that, and hoping to see the Goblin Bombardment. This is a pretty empty pack for the Black Red deck. Choices there really between Bone Splitter and Thought Stalker Warlock.
There it is.
But having the ability to control your opponent's hand is always better. Anax is another absurd card in that deck. You're constantly churning through cards.
Yeah, really hard to imagine. I mean, I guess you could get a true sacrifice outlet, but it's hard to imagine, I feel, a better start for this deck if that's the road you want to go down in this cube.
If you swap out Scytheclaw Raptor for one of the endless sac
outlets
sacrifice deck, then yeah, I'm on a perfect start. Red Cap, another great card in the sacrifice deck. Has combos. Managed to put together Grumgully or Rhythm Overwild. It has an infinite combo. I guess Good Fortune Unicorn's also in here, but you tend to see that more with Kitchen Finks.
Yeah, a bit harder to add 2 colors just for. I mean, I guess if you can manage it, it's still an infinite combo, but.
Yeah. Now this pack is empty, and having just selected the red cap, and I had to pick this again, I'm taking that black-green land at the back of the pack. just to enable the Grumgully or the Rhythm of the Wild. I don't think I end up playing the Mind Stone, but it does sacrifice itself, so it's not the worst thing.
Are you at all concerned about your mana requirements at this point? I mean, we don't have any fixing so far.
Yeah, for sure, and I've taken a bunch of double pipped cards, so a little bit nervous about it.
I also believe at this point that we passed the red-black artifact land at some point, and it did not table, I think.
I think that's right. Because I don't think I ended up with it.
Which, yeah, maybe a tad bit concerning, but...
Yeah, well, yeah.
In this cube, though, in two-color decks, I mean, fixing is definitely important, but there's a decent amount of it, I feel, with two packs to
Yeah,
go.
I mean, there's 40 lands
Oh, no.
and then 10 talismans.
There it was. Never mind. Oh, no, that's the snow one, not the artifact.
No, that's the snow land, yeah. And not to get too much ahead of ourselves, but we end up finding out that both the person on my left and the person on my right are also in black-red.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting that the one... I guess the artifact land is a bit better, just given it being an artifact, has some synergies with a couple of the other decks, so...
Yeah, in the straight black-red deck, the artifact land is marginally better. In a green deck, obviously you can Farseek for the snowland.
The snowland, yeah.
Yeah, the artifact is slightly better in the void, I think. Flame Tongue Combo, I mean, still print 20 years ago, and it's still one of the best cards in the cube.
Right. I did see Ribbons of Night in this pack, but not really equipped to play blue, and maybe not really worth it if you can't, so...
5 mana sorceries that,
Yeah.
that's a control card, and I'm not intending to play a control deck.
Right. Just love Ribbons of Night so much,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, 20 years ago, that was one of the best cards in the cube.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, unlike Flame Tongue Combo, the rest of the world has caught up to it. Again, Inquisition here, just trying to build some control.
There's plenty of options in this pack that you could
there's
make a case for like 6 or 7 of these cards.
All of them fit pretty well. The reason I ended up going with Kozilek or Inquisition here is because every other card in that pack kind of has other cards that are similar to it. Whereas just being able to Thoughtseize somebody on turn 1 is busted.
Yeah, and you, outside of that Thoughtstalker, which you really don't have any cards that do that so far, so giving yourself just another avenue with which to play, fight a battle is pretty strong.
Yeah. And of course, Lightning Bolt there. I mean, everybody loves Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, hard to say no.
Anytime you're red. So here's Ghostfire Slice, a newer addition to the cube. I remember playing back in Ravnica Block, how busted Char was, and this is Char with no drawback and tons of upside.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how much protection there is in the cube or anything like that, but...
Yeah, there's not a whole lot. I mean, you got Soltari Priest is pro-red. I can't really think if there's anything else. But here to take the Forsaken Miner, I mentioned it earlier with the Pitiless Plunder. If Goblin Bombardment shows up, that's an infinite combo.
Not that we would be sad to pick Goblin Bombardment anyways, but...
Yeah, sure. Or Forsaken Miner and
right.
Aggro deck, right? Gonna want that anyway.
Yeah, no losses here, really.
Yeah, and then Relic of Progenitus. I don't have in this cube a ton of just pure sideboard cards, but that card is just too good.
Yeah, straight to the bottom of your pile, which for me always means it's definitely not getting put in the main deck. I assume means the same thing here. Yeah.
Right. With the artifact synergies in the cube, there's sometimes some reason to main it, but most of the time you're going to be boarding that in. Anybody that's played any Magic where that card is legal understands how brutal that is for graveyard decks.
We were talking about who was to your left and right, and at this point, based off nothing but mannerisms, I am aware that Brian is sitting to your left. I need no
You're
other
right.
evidence than yeah. Right, still a mystery, but
I want to say it was Spurlock.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, Arab Falconwrath is not a great card for me. It's more of a graveyard enabler.
Yeah, that's only a single discard, right? You can only do it once.
Yeah, it's a single discard. But it is a 3/2 flyer for 2, which this deck, if the pure sacrifice version doesn't pan out, it's just a black red aggro deck, and 3/2 flyers for 2 is hard to pass up.
I imagine you wouldn't be mad if a Fiery Temper ended up in your deck either, and that's a nice little 1-2 punch.
Yeah, Fire Temper is actually not in this cube. It's come in and out of this a few times, but not the current version of the cube doesn't have it in there.
Oh, well, then it would be hard to do that then.
It would be very difficult. So again, here I'm picking between a removal spell and light up the stage, and again I go with the card that really doesn't have a analog anywhere else in the cube. With light up the stage, there's not a whole lot of red card draw in here.
You've already got Dismember. I guess you would count Flaying Tendrils, Lightning Bolt, and Ghostfire Slice too. So, Flame Tonkavu.
Yeah, I've got removal. I just don't really have a source of card advantage. Towards the end of this, Isserith is good, but again, it's only okay in my deck. Pretty mana intensive for what I'm trying to do.
Victimize, not horrible.
Again, not good value card. Mostly belongs in black green. Obviously, the ideal is to bring back an Eternal Witness with it or something like that.
And a couple of cards we're never casting at the end of that pack, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so at this point, I feel, you mentioned just being potentially a black-red aggro deck. I feel even if you don't count the bit of, sacrifice energy you have, I feel like this is, pretty fine. Pretty well-suited for... Oh, and then just immediate payoff here, potentially.
Well, except I didn't take it. I ended up taking the Flametongue Yearling here.
Oh.
I didn't have to read that the player to my left or to my right for that matter, was going to touch this. And I kind of felt like I was the only sacrifice deck. I almost take it.
Yeah. Definitely considering.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And if I didn't have the Forsaken Miner, I didn't have my mind set on Goblin Bombardment, I'd probably take the Viscera Seer there, which is an insane thought. It's better to just have both.
This card, whose art I recognize but don't remember the name of, is another sacrifice outlet, right? The Rager?
Stormclaw Rager, yeah.
That's
so
the
it's
one, yeah.
pay a mana, sacrifice a creature. It's what, like a +1/+1 counter and draw a card or something like that?
I think so, yeah, that sounds right. Oh, with Grumgully in this pack.
Yeah, crazy, and a better drafter probably takes that here. Ended up taking the Savage Lands, hoping that maybe the Grumgully or a potential Rhythm of the Wilds would wheel.
Similar to the first pick, we're thinking a lot about this one.
Well, and again, I do not have the read that anybody else is fighting me for the cards that I want, which is why I end up on this Savage Lands here.
So we had a similar conversation. I think it might have been in the last video we did with Brian, actually, of where choosing between a card that you would have to splash and the land that would let you splash it. You are perfectly fine to play the Savage Lands in your deck if you don't have Grumgully.
Correct.
But you don't want to be playing Grumgully if you don't have the Savage Lands. So
100%. Yeah, so again, this is where I'm looking for card advantage. That I've got the Talisman of Black Red in my hand. Indulgence, I think. But again, creating card advantage is going to be big for this deck because I If you don't kill them quick, you tend to end up spinning your wheels and running out of ways to deal with people. So here's Rhythm of the Wilds that I mentioned earlier, having specifically picked the Savage Lands with that card in mind. So naturally, I'm going to take Marsh Flitter here. Marsh Flitter is great with Red Cap too. I mean, that's an infinite combo. That's a sacrifice outlet for the Red Cap if you can get the Grumgully or the Savage Lands back.
Right. You also have the War Marshal that can sacrifice to it. I don't think anything else though.
Yeah, I don't think I'd taken any other goblins at this point. Arc Trail, just a good value card. Nothing feels better than like nuking 2 mana dorks or something like that. Or 1 mana dork and nugging your opponent for 2.
Yeah, you're stacking up quite a few 2-for-1s too, which is always a nice thing to have inside of your aggressive strategy.
Sure. And in this cube, I mean, all Magic is built around card advantage, but this cube having the 2-for-1s is very important. I think this ends up being Blood Scrivener?
Yeah.
I think I ended up playing that. I mean, it's just a good value card. And again, we just talked about card advantage.
Yeah, you mentioned spinning your wheels and being able to, draw extra cards
reload.
when you're out of cards is nice, yeah.
Yeah. I almost take Blood Fountain here, and I'm glad I didn't. I think this was actually the right choice. But I think it's actually close.
I never really thought about Blood Scrivener. It's not even just like when you're drawing your card for turn. Like, anytime you would draw a card, if you have no cards, you get an extra one, which is...
For sure, which drawing cards not at the start of your turn is definitely a thing that Red-Black does.
Well, you have not Mishra's Research Desk. I'll light up the stage. All right, you know what? Never mind.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that was a Regicide. I think that ends up being Teamer. Hard to remember. It definitely was blue something. This is going to be Bone Shard, Sacrifice Outlet. Again, probably better geared towards the Reanimator decks. But when you have a bunch of fodder out, then it never hurts you to...
How many Planeswalkers are in this cube? It's very few, right?
Two. Definitely Narset. Definitely Kiora. I think that's it.
Those were the 2 I remembered as well, but maybe a little extra value out of Bone Shards. Although I don't imagine that you... Well, maybe Kiora you care about, but Narset I can't imagine you care too much about.
Yeah, Narset doesn't bother me too bad. This is Peasant Cube. There's no draw 7s to play around.
Well, Grumgully is visiting again.
Yeah, Grumgully wheels, and again, after all this talk about how I should have taken it, at this point I don't have a recurring Salk outlet other than the Marsh Flitter. And the debate is, am I really going to splash a 3rd color into this deck? Almost take it, and then I ended up taking this Hissing Iguanar instead. I just felt like I wasn't going to be reliably able to create green mana for that.
Yeah, with your 1 Savage Lands at this point, right?
Right. And Iguanar is just a great card to have anytime you deal with a bunch of tokens. This is me checking to see that I only have 1 green source. And then passing up on the Grumgully. If I could draft this in hindsight, I'd probably take that early black-green land, and then I'd probably take Grumgully here. But I didn't feel like I was ever going to be able to cast it. That was Black-Red Talisman as my
Color Talisman.
Second total piece of mana fixing.
Cling to Dust.
Cling to Dust. Another card that probably feels as much like a sideboard card as Relic of Progenitus does, but I've never cast that card and been unhappy about it.
Just want to point out, Cling to Dust draws a card. We're on the board, boys.
Okay, fine. Yeah, you got me.
Blood Scrivener stocks are up.
Right. Yeah, and Displaced Dinosaurs when I realized that nobody was drafting the Reanimator deck.
Man, 45th pick Spirit Monger and Peasant Cube. What a...
I know.
Feels like that
Or-
card get pushed into Peasant Cube and everybody was really excited about it, but
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, well, this is just a 6/6. 6/6 for 5. Again, when I first ever built this cube 20 years ago, that would have been a deal. We were playing Woolly Pop Bar.
all right, so we can take a quick look at where the deck ended up here. I don't know if there's anything in particular. Nothing
Yeah,
seems
I mean,
too
I feel like
surprising.
this is pretty straightforward given the cards that I had. Some of the last cuts I made. Let's see, I don't think the bunch cards did make it.
Trying to
look
think.
through here.
Isserith maybe doesn't look like it's in
Israel
there.
didn't make it.
Victimize, although I'm not really sure how good that
Yeah,
card even is
victimized
for you.
never really belonged. Yeah. Flame Tendrils and Night Howler didn't make it. That Mind Stone that I took over something better, it didn't make it. I think it's about it.
Speaking of artifact mana, I'm a little surprised to see the talisman in here. Is that purely just because you wanted more sources for both black and red mana?
Yeah. I wanted to be as low on actual lands as possible, but I still needed fixing. I mean, you can see this deck. There's a ton of colored pips in it.
And not a ton of twos by the looks of it either, so
Yeah.
kind of fills in a gap in the curve. Just like you don't want to be
Yeah.
casting Flame Tongue yearling on turn 2, usually,
Right.
but
It sort of turned less into a sacrifice deck and more of just sort of like black red removal.
Yeah, this didn't in
you know,
any way end up being a sacrifice deck.
which is still a mighty fine place to be. I mean, especially with the pile of 2-for-1s you've got stacked up here. Seems like this deck's going to do pretty well for you.
Yeah, and I think by the end of it, I had boarded out the Plunderer for Isserith, just because having a 1/4 for 3 or 4, whatever that is, wasn't ideal. And it wasn't doing enough. Wasn't doing enough sacrificing to make that worthwhile.
all right. Well, we can check out some of those games. All right, so first round here, we get to play against Scott.
Hey, that's me.
Boxcars.
Naturally rolls boxcars. So
Cheater.
roll the 1 die to see if I can bother rolling a second.
My deck is, as it frequently is when I draft this cube, blue-red spells. Not like a particularly, incredible version of it, just pretty standard, like burn spells, counter magic, draw spells, I have a problem. I can't stop drafting this deck, and it's not like I crush with it every time. I do okay, but I gotta try some more strategies.
Yeah, it's one of the better decks in the cube, and it's pretty resilient as far as you don't need specific XYZ cards to make it work. And you get to draw a bunch of cards and burn people. It's fun.
That is certainly true. It is fun.
All right, so in with Forsaken Miner here, taking the early lead.
So remind me with Forsaken Miner, this is the guy that you can regrow him if you commit a crime, right?
Yeah, if you commit a crime, you pay a black mana and return to play.
Yeah. Okay.
More coming in with a 2/1. And praying that this Cyclar Raptor resolves.
Raptor definitely feels like a downer for the blue-red deck.
Raptor's a very good card against blue-red.
I mean, even if it's not counter spells, have to imagine that Scott would rather be casting spells on your turn than his. So,
without question, this is the card that's under the shine. There is Forsaken Crossroad. That's a arena only card that got printed into the mystery boosters. Seemed like a fun include for this cube.
Absolute brick wall of a turtle. I like turtles.
Yeah.
The Calcite Snapper, I'm pretty sure it wheeled, and I feel like nobody respects that card, but it's very solid. It's very hard to get through.
Yeah, yet another card that's been in the cube since that card was printed, and has always been at least good, if not great. Scott clears my board and domes me for 4 and brings this to even.
Yeah, it's pretty standard blue-red spells stuff, just burn spells.
Burn spells, 1 efficient creature, and just attack you 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, burn spells and a turtle. What more could you ask for in life, really?
There really needs to be more turtles in this game.
Yeah.
The old non-rated warlock there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's raid, whatever that ability is. But it does get my Forsaken.
Yeah, he picks which card he discards, right? If you haven't dealt damage this turn, or they haven't lost life this turn.
Correct.
Yeah. Shoreline Scout, which is a looter, I think, unless you have Threshold.
Correct. Yeah, looter
Yeah, can't be blocked.
Yeah, can't be blocked. Card's very good.
Looks like 4 cards in the yard at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you have a tough deck for filling up the graveyard, right? And I am clearly just a little bit flooded out here. Scott tries to block my Menace creature with his 1/4.
No, whatever.
Listen, Turtle's not that good.
It's no wall of glare, that's for sure. Then yeah, FTK to come down and try to kill off this Shoreline Looter. Last thing I want to be doing is giving Scott stack more cards.
Yeah. Which seems especially good because it feels like I'm pretty action light at the moment.
Yeah. I remember right. I think we both ended up this game kind of action light. And I've got 6 of my 16 lands out.
That's why you run less lands, so you can draw a higher percentage of them, I think, right?
Yeah, correct.
Just the goal.
That way I get more tilted as I fly out.
Right. Nothing better than a self-mental own in Magic.
Really the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay. So I at the time I remember not really understanding this attack.
Which this turtle's attacking is a 4/1, right? Yeah.
It is attacking as a 4/1, yeah. Into my vanilla 2/1. And I kind of just assumed that Scott had Pulverous Blast or something to that effect.
Yeah, I don't. Clearly, I have something, but that attack feels weird just looking at it now. And this is roughly a month after we played these games, so it's
been
a little hard to remember. I'm sure I had a plan, right?
You gotta think. First lightning after damage.
Yeah, I mean, you have all your lands untapped.
Could have been a better target for sure, but
just a Glass Kite.
Yeah, with my Menace guy. Yeah, I remember thinking at the time it was a very odd attack.
Yeah.
You almost got me. I mean, you almost got me to take damage on me.
try to block the Menace creature again.
Menace creature.
Glass Kite's good. It's not that good.
Look, man, you can't bring the other guy. You can't bring that Menace guy back, so I want to kill it instead.
Yeah,
makes sense.
We target.
You're committing a crime here just to get your guy. You are getting to that point where you're just trying to punch damage through.
For sure. And I'm also trying to empty my hand. I just played Blood Scrivener, right?
Yeah.
Probably would have been better marginally to play that during your turn, but it is what it is.
Oh, sure, yeah. Just gonna bounce the Blood Scrivener.
Keep me from drawing cards. And hey, he can finally block this Warlock.
Yeah, but will I?
I don't know.
Me neither.
Essence Scatter.
Pretty easy counterspell there.
Yeah, at this point, you don't know that I don't have awesome sacrifice outlets, so.
Yeah. Hey, I blocked it. Look at that.
He's gone. Ding dong, the witch is dead.
Ooh, coming in. All right. I must have.
Again, this is another point I'm like, oh, he's got Sulphurous Blast or something like that. Right?
This was a quick attack too. Just draw attack immediately. So
no thoughts, just vibes.
I can't tell what that card is that you drew.
It's island and something, and that card I drew this turn, so it.
Oh, this is the stun creature. That's what it is.
Okay.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
So costs only 2 because of the cards in your graveyard. Stuns both the creatures.
Wow, great attack on my part.
With counters too, right? They get a. Oh, okay. I thought it gave stun counters.
Oh. No, they keep printing better versions of Cryptic Serpent. This is one of the better ones.
Okay, well that's quite the light up the stage.
Main phase light up the stage to you.
Yeah.
Not even alt casted. Just pay 3 mana, light up the stage.
Yep. Windmill 2 burn spells off the top.
Yeah, well, that's what you put them in your deck for. So.
Right.
A little unfortunate because I felt like I had turned the corner on that game, but that's what happens sometimes.
I mean, that crab is huge, right? It's like a 5/5 or something. So
5/5, yeah. Certainly huge in comparison to anything that I can cast.
All right, so Repulse, Shoreline Scout, Turtle, and Compulsive are options here. Seen enough of the Turtle.
Yeah, right. That Turtle's just hard for me to deal with if Scott doesn't just attack into my creatures. And I believe, if I remember right, I had an answer for the...
Yeah, I was going to say, I assume if we didn't take the Scout, we have something to deal with it. Which there's no shortage of those in the deck, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I believe this over suspending the Riftwing is just like a nod to wanting to find more lands and or red mana.
Regicide, yeah.
Right. Yeah, yet again, I'm out to a blazing start.
Do find red, but still go ahead and just suspend this instead of leaving up Repulse or playing a Compulsive Research.
Yeah, which bites you a little bit here, but Repulse is good on your turn too.
Yeah, if I just sat on that Repulse, then I'd take a bunch of damage. I mean,
right. Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Get to play the land that you drew, so maybe you didn't have another one too. Just not even bothering to untap our lands here. We know what's happening.
We know what's coming. We know that this thing's going to be out for one more turn before that Riftwing bounces it.
Yeah, and you missed your 4th land, which is relevant as well.
Yeah. And generally, I'm fine with that in this deck. I think I have a few 4-drops, but...
Yeah.
I do think you would prefer that to having 8 lands or whatever you had in play at the end of the last game, so...
Without any question. I would much rather recast the Raptor on turn 3.
I'll be representing any number of instances here, but each one would cost me some life to play, so... I'm hoping you don't need me to spend mana on this turn, and just playing 2/1/1s is... Yeah. And now I'm all set up to counter that thing on the way back down.
I don't actually remember how this game ended up going.
It seems like I'm winning.
Cloudskate coming in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cloudskate having 4 toughness... Tough to deal with, I feel. Regicide's already gone.
Yeah, right.
I guess
no doubt.
Ghostfire slices 4 damage, right? So
assuming I have some other way to target it that
yeah,
turn.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a rough way to go.
Yeah, Glass got yet another card that's just been in this cube since the cube was created.
I remember. Oh well, okay.
Oh, we
Right
have
on-
this member. Okay.
Right on cue.
Yeah.
I think I remember I was not in this draft, and I think I remember during the draft Scott showed me a pack that had the glass kite. I'm pretty sure this Riftwing Cloudskate and a third card in it, Opportunity maybe,
Yeah, that sounds right.
and asked me which of the three I would prefer, and I said glass kite, but I also said that I might just be jaded because I've gotten just my teeth kicked in by that card so many times, but
A lot of people have gotten their teeth.
managed to get that and the Cloudskate out of the pack. So
Yeah, and I think I took Glass Kite and then wheeled Riftwing, or it might have been the other way around.
I think it was
but
the other way
either way,
around,
I think
yeah.
the opportunity also wheeled, so I just like had my choice.
It was an opportunity. I don't think opportunity is not in this cube.
Uh, I kind of feel like it was that card though. Is the thing.
I only had some way to answer this. Hold on.
I'll check.
Oh, that's right.
It was another. It was another like,
Opportunity is in
big
here.
blue spell. Yeah.
Is it really? Huh.
Why would you know that? You're only the cube creator.
Yeah, right. It's only my cube.
You don't have vivid memories of all 450 cards.
I feel like I do a pretty good job.
What is the creature Scott has in play right off?
A Pinnacle Monk. So that is one of the NDFCs. It's either a tapped mountain or it's a Archaeomancer with prowess.
Okay.
Yep,
here
we'll just try burn spells for some creatures here.
Yeah, I'd set up. I kind of had to read that he was going to have an instant if I just tried to arc trail that Pinnacle Monk.
So that had blocked one of the goblins earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, let him eat a goblin. And, with it anyway. Would have been nice to get both the Cloudskate and the Monk, but Monk's good enough. I wasn't about to let that happen.
Right. A little free information for you there.
Yeah, a little remand into compulsive research.
Remand your own compulsive research. You could draw an extra card now, and then still compulsive research later.
That much more likely to have the land in your hand.
True. So kind of turned. I mean, we had to 2-for-1 ourselves, kind of 3-for-1, I guess, with the life 2, but to get the
yeah, I mean the board is stable,
gone,
but I'm up on cards by quite a bit.
Yeah.
And lands and just like tempo in general, like it's
vibes.
Yeah, this is where you have the most fun with this deck, you know.
For sure.
Oh, that's just gonna stay there.
It's an attacker.
Of course, naturally, always comes with the comment that resolves. Yeah, definitely. When the blue-red deck starts to snowball and starts to have the advantage, it tends to get a lot more fun for them from there on out.
Let's consider. Yeah.
Bats has no discipline with the arts he puts in his cube, so all kinds of dumb-looking things are going to show up.
There are rules.
What are they?
What are they? Okay, so number one priority is old frame, retro frame black border foil, and then it's retro frame black border, and then it's alternate frame foil, and then it's alternate frame.
That's where we mess up, right there.
Oh, Mystic here.
Then it's standard frame non-foil, or standard frame foil, and then standard frame non-foil. And refuse to play with white border cards.
Mystic, pretty nice here. A way for you finally to start shutting the door, feels like, with all these spells.
Attack with this 2/2, which is definitely not bait. And then this is pretty sure just going to get countered.
Seen Incinerate for sure. So it might just be make some birds.
It'll just be make some dudes, yeah.
it was actually going to be make a guy and bounce my thing, but I realized right at this moment that I cannot bounce my things with that card. So
Well, this feels better anyways because that spell can't kill your guy on its own, and now you know, so you won't
yeah,
just
that's
walk into
fair
it again.
point.
Scott just cycled one of the more recent additions to the cube. I can't remember what it's called. It's the new shatter that cycles.
Yeah. I also don't remember the name.
Yeah, it replaced Ancient Grudge. Obviously, there's some benefits to both, but with a heavy artifact cube, a lot of times you want to be main decking your hate. So being able to cycle it when it's not relevant is, I think, better.
Tried to get the witch into play, but Remand and then Mana Leak, keeping it out. The miner can't block, right?
Correct. Yeah,
then
because
again-
there's the miner and the cult conscript, and one of them can't block, and the other one comes into play tapped, and I can't remember which one.
Yeah.
I think the miner is the one that can't block, though. Yeah, that's correct.
Nice little combo here. Using the
It's
crime
good
from the
counter,
bone
though.
charge to just get the Forsaken Miner back right away.
Yeah. We go
Just going
face with
upstairs.
this.
Yeah.
I think we're just praying to draw burn
Lightning
here.
Bolt to any number of... Not that.
Not
Any
that.
number of cards that aren't that one.
Yep, right. Lightning Bolt, Red Cap. There's a ton of outs there.
Anyways, on to
Assuming
game
I
three.
was on air, but yeah.
Yeah, Firebolt probably being the best one because it can flash back if you counter it. But opening again with a blazing start.
Wait, who's the red aggro deck?
Me.
Hell yeah.
Dragon's Rage Channeler. I mean, it's one of the better red cards in Vintage Cube. It's as good here.
Just want to point out, I made that comment about not necessarily wanting to cast this Kavu on turn 2, and I think that's the second time this match alone that you've gotten huge value out of doing that exactly, so...
I think you're right.
I'm sitting here on Triple Mountains, by the way, so not my favorite opener.
Definitely seems worse than All Islands.
Yeah, at least with Islands, you have some hope of drawing out of it, right?
Yeah, and you're just kind of popping off, just max value every turn.
Right, sure.
Didn't have to do that there, but I guess no reason to let him draw an island, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's highly unlikely that I'm going to be aiming that at any of his creatures, right? I've seen Glass Kite, Calcite Snapper, and 5/5s.
Yep. Neither of which I couldn't cast either of those cards either.
Sure.
So
Talisman into Marsh Flitter with our War Marshal Goblins. Although.
Yep. I kill this with a trigger on the stack, just, But all your just accumulation of random little 1/1s is going to be tough, especially with my draw not really cooperating here.
Yeah, right. Sometimes you just get overrun.
Did you have, he mentioned Sulphurous Blast a couple times. I think, is Pyroclasm also in here?
Pyroclasm's not. Flame Tendrils is in, but it was in my sideboard.
Right.
And I think the only other sweeper is Sulphurous Blast. Or the only other cheap sweeper. There's Kurtar's Wrath, which is downshifted, and Extinguish All Hope, which is downshifted.
Just getting Anax
Starting
off.
to draw out of my mana issues here, but I'm afraid it might be too late. And I guess this is a fine time to point out that Sulphurous Blast was in this draft, and I took a card I felt like I had to take over it when I saw it the first time, and it did not wheel, so I don't have access to that tool either.
Yeah, I remembered seeing it in one of my early drafts, early packs.
Yeah. I don't remember what I took over it, but I remember feeling like I didn't really have a choice in the matter, so it might have been like Jilt or something. And that may not even be the correct pick, but I love a jilt and I won't pass it. You can't make me. So
I feel pretty comfortable running these out here because the Annex provides me. Well, basically, if he casts Sulphur's Blast for 3 damage here, he dies because it domes both players too. That's really the only card I'm worried about at that point.
yeah, I think there are actual 0-outs from this position, but
Well, we have the crab, which I guess is tapped, so we're going to
Yeah.
1. So yeah, not great.
yeah, and I mean, even if I don't know, I don't even know what I could draw. Get all these double blue cards.
Yeah, right. It was like Cloudskate doesn't get you out of this. Yeah, I can't imagine what it would be.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what careful consideration could have possibly even drawn me into, but the other cards definitely don't do anything. So
right. I think this is careful consideration and to concede, if I recall.
Well, no, that's what you discarded with the.
Oh, you're right.
It's just straight to concede.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of exactly what we talked about, at least in the first and the third game. The second game stumbled a bit more out of the gate, and
I mean, I don't know, even though they're necessarily stumbled. Right? I kind of curved out in game 2, right? Scott just was able to answer my stuff that time.
Yeah, still pulled ahead a bit in the mid game, but just got overwhelmed in the end. All right, on to match 2. All right, so round 2, 1-0 match versus Matt. Matt, I believe, is playing a mostly white with blue and black splashes artifact aggro deck. So see how that lines up with our aggro approach. So far, he has a Thraben Inspector, which is definitely cheating.
Thraben Inspector into Miscalc. And by the way,
another turn 2 Flame Tongue Yearling.
Sure was.
Carrot Cake.
Yeah, Matt's kind of got the white version of my strategy. He's kind of trying to go wide. The white deck has some anthem effects that can help out that strategy.
Mayhem Devil really nice here, actually. The clue, the carrot cake itself, both are sacrifice effects. So
yeah, lots of free value here if he decides to use his cards.
Mm-hmm. And that's the alt Loxodon Warhammer, yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And Annex just continues to be a powerhouse. Obviously, a little bit better if I can get one more red thing in play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matt came out the gate swinging, but Mayhem Devil into Annex, kind of shutting the door on the 1-power creatures.
For sure. Obviously, Loxodon Warhammer is terrifying to me. It can pretty easily close out a game, put it out of reach fairly quickly from my deck.
Looks like you're suggesting that he just conceded the game already, which doesn't seem like a wise move from his part. Another.
I think it seems fine.
Yeah. Another pretty good card that has the text sacrifice on it, unfortunately for Matt. So.
For sure. Unfortunately, he does have a pretty good target. I mean, that can hit that Annex.
Can hit the Annex, yeah. But not until next turn, right? The creature has to tap?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it requires the creature to tap.
Yeah. But our trail going to take it out.
Gracious enough to remind me that Crossbow gave his creature +1/+1. Let me repick my targets.
Punished for tapping that swamp there. But I guess we do have next turn, but...
Yeah, you get till next turn.
Need another black source to cast both.
Yeah, and I think at this point, against his deck. I think the Inquisition ends up being a little bit more important. We'll find it. I think that's what I ended up casting there.
I'm curious if, I mean, I know he definitely wants to just keep building his board, but I'm curious how much better it might be to just spend a turn putting this hammer on something, because I guess now we know it would have been a waste of a turn, but
Yeah, it's hard to do against red black specifically, just because all of the removal, like even if Bats didn't have Lightning Bolt, he could untap and play like a sorcery speed or more expensive one, and then you've just wasted 3 mana.
right. It does. It just feels
It's
like
tough.
Yeah, it feels like in a world where you equip it and like he can't answer it for even a turn or two, though it just wins the game on its own, you know? Because I mean, you've just gained 8 life at that point on top of all the damage you've done.
The optimistic view is that Matt is not doing that because he just has better things to do with his mana every turn.
Which no hate on Flicker Wisping the citizen, try to get the annex off the board. We did get another land here, but it looked like it was red, so.
And I thought I'd recall casting that Inquisition here, but I think he's down to maybe 1 or 2 cards left, so maybe that was the reason.
Yeah, well, when the Inquisition is face up, you have to expect that he like is playing around the eventuality that you will play it. So
that's actually another really good point. That might be a big reason of why he played the Flicker Wisp there. So
yeah,
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, me neither.
Being that I didn't think about the implication of the Inquisition being face up until Scott just said it.
This looks like the Fabricator.
Yeah, coming down, making some blockers. He's still in a pretty tight spot, though, because he's gonna, if he gets rid of Annex, he starts losing either creatures or life.
Right. Yeah, so we can sacrifice the Crowbar to destroy Annex, which, if we're going to do it, we have to do it now. Yeah. So...
And that also helps me because it taps a blocker.
Right. Although maybe we forgot our Mayhem Devil trigger. Because it feels like we would have taken out a 1/1.
Yeah.
Oh, remembering this one.
Remember that one.
Yeah. And the card that we played was Hissing Iguanar, so that's where the second damage that went face came from.
I think, I don't remember the Mayhem Devil trigger on either player sacrifice until afterward.
Well, you remember it here.
But I remember it here.
Yeah, I mean, relatively small difference, I feel, but is something for sure. But Matt's empty-handed at this point, so...
Yeah, and your board's still quite wide, so... This kind of feels like a turn that Warhammer will get equipped. I'm just not even sure that it matters. Yeah.
Yeah, so just packing it in there. Yeah, I mean, you can equip and block and go to 10, but what are you even doing from there?
Yeah, and if I you can't even do that because I've got the sacrifice outlet.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, Matt's deck definitely demonstrated the ability to go wide with just like stuff, but most of that stuff was not super relevant on the board. Like Mayhem Devil being a 3/3 was the strongest determining factor in that game, you know.
For sure. For sure.
Looks like we're double mulliganing here, which is unlucky.
And Matt starting with the Mother of Runes.
Yeah. The bane of black-red decks since the beginning of Magic. Great. So
do you remember if you took Regicide out of your deck here? Or if you sideboarded at all?
I think... I don't know.
Just trying to solve the mystery of what colors Regicide was. That's really the point here. Because so far we've only seen it target 2 blue creatures, so we know it's blue for sure, but...
Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if it was banned, because all 3 players that would have picked it were playing black-red. for whatever reason, I don't recall it being banned.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's been so long that hard to remember exactly. Here we're going wide and interacting. Very rude.
Better strategy.
Kind of feels like we're just sitting on removal here that we just can't play because mom exists.
Yeah.
Point in case. Murder's red cap.
This probably would have been a great matchup for that Flaying Tendrils to come in if there ever was one, but
Yeah, I think I brought it in. I think I brought it in here. I mean, obviously it's not great for my deck.
yeah, actually, I kind of wonder if maybe you don't bring it in after game one. You didn't see mom that game, so like, seems a little less relevant. But although, I was gonna say though this slow start might be reminiscent of there being a Flaying Tendrils. I don't know, but just willing to eat a bit.
I don't think that's the case.
Not entirely sure what happened to this red cap, but
It got swords, which means it shouldn't be where it is currently. But
okay,
I'm sure it's fine.
yeah, I was mostly curious why it didn't come back, and swords would answer that question.
Matt's just firing on all cylinders here, just every turn, interacting and pushing a little bit of damage in.
This Clayfire Bricks flips, and is this the one that flips into an Anthem, or is that another card?
No, that's the one that flips into an Anthem.
Okay. All right, well, there's an application of the Ghostfire Slice.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was about to make that comment earlier when we were
Yeah.
talking about Flaying Tendrils. I do have an out to bottom of my deck, but at this point I'm down big.
We still need the Flaying Tendrils to catch up in this game.
Very much.
And
so.
also you're flooding quite a bit too, so really not going well for you.
Again, complaint equity high when you have 16 lands in your deck and flood out.
Yeah.
I was about to say it's tough because this Blood Scrivener seems like it might start to dig us out, but if he flips this Anthem, we have to block something.
Yeah.
So, and even then, I mean, even if you do survive this turn and draw 2 cards, it's kind of hard to imagine a scenario that is super productive
scenarios involves Flaying Tendrils, which
Yeah.
I don't believe I board.
Well, even Flaying Tendrils, the Inspector survives now, right? So,
True.
right? It's only -2/-2, I think.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Regardless, more games. We love more games.
More games. Starting off with a 2-1.
Versus a 1/2. Battle for the ages.
Right. A 2-1 that comes back versus a 1-2 that draws you a card.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy with trading there. Early Blood Scrivener.
Yeah, just a 2/2.
Not quite as good as Dark. Slew of 2-mana black creatures continues.
Well, I was about to say no more spells, so maybe we have a...
Ooh, but no third land.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Research Desk to my left?
I believe it is. Yeah, I was about to say. So yeah, kind of makes the 2-land keep a little more understandable.
Research Desk is just such a good card.
Yeah, no reason
Not
to do
cracking
it
here
now.
though. Seems like we're holding up a spell.
Yeah, he had early in the game he started to counter the Forsaken Miner.
Yeah.
I think he thought better once he realized it was coming back. So I had to read that he had some sort of counter spell, but no idea exactly which.
Research Desk...
Still not cracking the desk.
Is Desk until the end of your next turn or end of the turn?
No, Desk is still at the end of the turn.
Okay, so not something you want to do on your opponent's turn. I guess unless...
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't. I kind of feel like that's wrong. Am I stupid?
Well, yes, but it could also be wrong.
Yeah, two things are possible.
I will take a look.
Yeah, I'm pretty
I
sure.
know it is. It is until the end of your next turn. So.
Oh, well, I'm just wrong and stupid then.
As we were looking it up, it looks like we did that actually. So, but going to just go ahead and cast it on the end step anyways.
What did I get? Oh, Dismember.
Dismember, yeah. Which spending the life for that makes me feel like we have something else to do with our mana this turn, and we knew we were going to pay life for it anyways. So.
And you had to get another hidden card.
Yeah. Glare is undefeated.
Yeah.
Looks like Mayhem Devil.
I need the comments to bully Prose so he can actually get some umbrellas and address this because.
Yeah, how are we not playing on Darkwood?
Ooh, just full cost Eagle here.
Just vanilla 3/3 flyer. Cling to dust to draw a card.
Quite a lot of islands in play. I thought Matt was primarily a white deck. I wonder if that's part of the issue. Although, if that was the case, you just cycle the Eagles and get another plane.
Right,
So
yeah, exactly.
I'm not really sure what's going on.
Yeah, kind of surprised from looking that he even has this many islands in his deck. I guess I missed a few cards on first look, so. But it feels like this has to be close to all of the islands in his deck. It doesn't look like he has any. He has 2 double white cards, so he still should be able to cast them if he had them.
Well, I think one of the cards in his hand is the planes. I'm pretty sure. I think that card all the way to the left right now is the planes.
Yeah, it looks that way. That's the Raptor, I believe.
Okay, I was going to say, Matt reads a card that we can't read.
Yeah. Looks borderless to me, so.
This is part of the reason for the big bird in play. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're just leaving it back on defense.
Well, single power. It could kill the Mayhem Devil plus block it, or the Raptor.
Yeah, but any
removal.
Yeah, if I have anything, then he dies here, right?
I just want to secure the life points, but yeah, I don't know. That's a tough way to go about it.
And I clearly don't have removal here.
Well, I mean, this is almost removal. We are short a goblin though, and I guess we don't have any. Yeah, we don't have another one to play, so.
Birds gives first strike when it comes in. It doesn't have first strike, right?
Yeah. Is Miss Meadow Witch? No.
Wedge on new card.
Okay. So it's gain 3 and draw.
Gain 3, draw 2 with affinity for artifacts.
So it costs 1 less.
Yeah, I want to be attacking with my Warhammer creature. I don't know.
I mean, you got to figure if he attacks with Warhammer creature, he's.
All right. Well, this feels like it's going to shut the door with it being able to sacrifice to the flitter.
Yep.
This red cap alone is going to, clear the table.
I believe the flick of the wrist there was me explaining.
Yeah. So that just takes it out. It's 2-0, feeling pretty good.
Yeah, really, really fun and interactive games. It feels like so far. So.
Yeah, right. Haven't had god awful floodouts from either side. You had a little bit of issue.
Sometimes those happen, but there were still games to be played. It's been good.
Sure.
Yeah. So going into the 3-0 match, looks like the opponent was Brian. We can take a quick look at his deck here.
Lovely.
So Scott was in the blue-red spells deck. Brian pretty solidly in the blue-black spells deck here. And honestly, taking a look, in my opinion, this deck is missing a Rise from the Tides, and that's honestly about it. Because...
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if you need a Rise from the Tides here. This just looks like good, clean, blue-black control.
Yeah, I should restate that I don't think he needs a Rise from the Tides. I think that's one of the only cards in the cube that would make this deck better. Is more what I meant there. So
his only issue is if Thrix gets taken out, he can have a hard time maybe killing people.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
Well, that's what Booster Tutor's for.
that's what Booster Tutor's for. Exactly right.
Honestly, yeah.
Brian's deck
Love to
featuring
see
in it.
2 uncards. Yeah, we were about to say the same thing.
Yeah, the only 2 uncards in the cube, I believe, right? Is the
I think there's one.
I know wasn't the Death Ray in at one point?
Super duper.
Yeah, the
Death
trample
Race.
burn spell.
Yeah. Which there's a card that's been printed since that does the exact same thing, but it's way more fun to have the
Yeah, the uncard for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, Booster Tutor. So Booster Tutor in this cube, you just take from the undrafted cards, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
Very cool.
Let's jump in and see how that match turns out. All right, so get into the finals. We've seen both the decks. Both look pretty good. So.
Black-red aggro versus blue-black control. Lots of 2-for-1s on both sides. Only one side has uncards, though, so.
True. Looks like we might be resolving a mulligan here. Yep.
Okay, so that was forever mulligan.
Yeah. Forsaken Miner. Curving out seems like one of the best things we can do here. Inquisition maybe.
Yeah, lots of camera time for that Forsaken Miner this draft. Lots of camera time.
All right, so Inquisition here. We've got Saw It coming, Baleful Strix, Hypnotic Spectre, and Booster Tutor as options.
Yeah, so I think I ended up taking the Baleful Strix here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got to imagine it's that or the Booster Tutor just for the randomness element of it.
Yeah, my thought is that if he spends time setting up Booster Tutor, that might give me the chance to get damage in.
Yeah, so gonna just go ahead and do it here.
Do you think there's any chance that you would Booster Tutor here in response to the spell and just look for like a card that costs more than 3 mana?
I can't imagine. Not with Baleful Strix in my hand. If it was the only card in my hand that costs less than 3, or 3 or less, maybe, but...
So important to note with Booster Tutor that you don't get any special mana costs out of it. So we do have to pick something we can actually take here, which narrows down the options quite a lot, although there's still some fine options here.
Yeah, and there's an Arcane Sanctum in Brian's hand, so some white cards may be on the table as well.
But yeah, just gonna grab the Thought Erasure, looks like. Although, I mean, there are pretty much all the cards that he could cast here, I feel, would be quite good in his deck. Yeah.
Right. When Thirst for Knowledge is probably the worst card you can get. That's a pretty good.
Yeah, hard to complain too much, but looks like we may just be erasing some thoughts here.
Show him the only card I can discard. I must have mulled 5.
He only has a single thought left, actually.
Yeah.
And now it's gone.
Surveilling to the graveyard.
Do you recall, was Brian pretty good about getting his Booster Tutor cards back out after a game?
Watching this, I feel like I remember him casting a Thought Erasure against me in game 2. But, I very much could be wrong, and I don't want to slander Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I sure hope not. But that's one of the problems with that card, right? Like, you just forget about stuff as the game goes on.
No doubt. Especially because it stays in your graveyard, right? It's not a token. It doesn't just disappear.
Yeah.
There's the Arcane Sanctum. So we have Saw It coming. Maybe the most ironic card to have revealed from your hand of all time. Although I guess in the cube, maybe, I don't know if there's other foretell cards, so maybe a card getting...
There's a couple.
Okay.
I know Poison Cup is in here.
Got to draw a spell.
Thirst for Discovery here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he Thirst for Discoveries me here, and then it's just never a game after that.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a land, feels like just sit here and then cast Thrax. What do you ever do about that?
Right.
Let
me tell you, it's got to be a comment about good games of Magic, and if I recall correctly,
colors.
Could be wrong.
So counterspell there. Looks like the Sod Coming got used. The Miner gonna attack, but maybe just doesn't super care. Because yeah, I think the only card. Well, we have Dismember and we have Regicide that we know can take care of the Thrax, but Thrix.
Correct.
Brian doesn't even seem
yeah.
interested in casting the Thrix, so
Yeah, I think he's just. I mean, he knows he's got this game if he can survive, right? So he's leaving up.
right. If he has more spells to cast here, then absolutely is the correct thing to do.
Yeah.
Red Cap's good on the board though.
What are we thinking about here? I'm just gonna take 2.
Kills it with something and then Dome for 1.
Cut down, I believe.
I guess cut down's a good enough reason to leave mana up, but
Yeah.
I'm probably casting there.
Well, we can do it now. It's fine.
Yeah, now I'm just trying to squeeze damage in with the hope that I draw burn spells.
Yeah, and I mean at 7, even if we play Thrix, block something, and it gets burned, I guess that's not the worst thing in the world because life total is getting a bit low.
Yeah, a little bit. Deciding to block the other creature. Oh, but we have removal and the ability to get our guy back.
Doing it this way makes it feel a little less okay because we didn't even really kill a creature this way, but
yeah, I mean you traded your Thrix for just a lightning bolt essentially.
All right, well there's Extinguish All Hope. Clears the board off.
And spoiler alert, that's exactly what happens. He extinguishes my hope.
Yeah, what a well-named magic card. I mean, Marsh Flitter is a good recovery post-Wrath, you know?
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's at 6. Something like a Mayhem Devil or a Hissing Iguanar here is very good, but gonna
showing the
take
other
it
side
out
of his flip land here.
Right.
My brother was screwing around with this cube after having not played Magic for about 20 years. And when he saw Extinguish All Hope, he went, "What in God's name is an enchantment creature?"
Yeah, more or less there to take out a goblin. There's Narset.
More or less with the feature of reducing a 1 toughness down to 0. Narset finding Factor Fiction.
And a Factor Fiction, and you have a lowly 1/1.
I mean, 3 life is not the safest place to be versus deck.
It's not, no. And just slamming this Factor Fiction easily could have been met with a Ghostfire Slice or something.
Although, ribbons off of this Factor Fiction feels like it might be just game ending on its own. I mean...
You think?
Yeah.
Your guy gained 4 life draw a card? Yeah, it's pretty good.
So is this a 4-1 split then? Are you that, you know?
Well, the problem with that is even if you do that, he has Halo Forager. So, I mean, I guess you don't get to draw the card at that point, but you still get to kill the guy, gain 4 life if we have another land.
True.
Yeah, I think I give him like Halo Forager. Yeah.
I do think that you put those 2 cards together, as painful as that seems, because
it's at least mana intensive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will look. He flipped 5 spells with 7 lands in play. Like,
yeah,
any combination of these cards
over.
is going to be pretty tough.
Actually, just gonna take the 3. It looks like okay. Just doesn't
Yeah,
even feel like he needs the ribbons.
Yeah.
Maybe Brian
That's
just doesn't
surprising.
respect ribbons enough.
He doesn't remember when that was one of the best cards in Ravnica Limited.
Well, he can't remember that.
Not.
He didn't even play Magic.
Yeah. Keep that one. Discard.
Mountain
and yeah. Not particularly big losses.
Wow. In hindsight, I'm probably supposed to play the Flame Tongue Yearling and kill my Goblin token, just to have a bigger creature out. But
Sure. Oh, that's about as big of a miss as you could possibly get.
Yeah, that doesn't seem very good here.
I don't know. Maybe you play it for 2.
Okay, Whirler Rogue. The greed in me really wanted him to play Rusko there, but making 3 blockers is probably better than having a clock, you know.
yeah, he didn't end up with Oracle the Alpha, did he?
No. Although we did make the comment about how Narset didn't matter because there aren't draw 7s, and Brian does have. Oh, I guess Midnight Clock isn't both players, right? It's only you.
Just you.
Okay, never mind then.
Now, Prose, you just mentioned Midnight Clock, which is a rare. So what could you possibly even be talking about?
Well,
Yeah,
Rusko,
right.
Rusko
Isn't here.
conjures a Midnight Clock
Oh, okay.
when he enters.
And what does conjure mean?
Listen, man.
Magic has gone to some silly places. They've been making this game for too long, I think.
Everybody got up in arms about like Deadpool and X-Men and all that stuff. It's really like, no, it's actually the online only stuff that kind of goofs stuff up.
I don't know. I might be the rare conjure advocate, but it's just such an unwieldy thing in paper.
Hey, look, I've got 3 conjure cards in my cube, so
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. I'm just saying, maybe that's a sign that we, have jumped the shark a little bit. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Not like you can't enjoy it.
So we had the micro or the Archaeomancer to get the ribbons back.
Yeah, that explains burying the ribbons in the Halo Forge earlier. Just a piddly art trail.
Well, you get to kill 2 creatures, get your guy back. It seems piddly in the face of everything that's going on, but
I mean, in a vacuum, it's a fine thing.
Yeah. But it's hard to be too positive after getting ribbons and
right.
And everything else that's going on here.
Yeah, Black Red deck is ribbons. You don't feel too good about it.
The eldest has been reborn.
I'm like a little surprised you're still playing, but
hindsight, I am too.
I mean, at 7 life,
there's a world, right?
Something like light up the stage into Lightning Bolt, Ghost Fire Slice again.
Right, yeah. I dealt 7 damage to Scott off of 1 card.
Right. So we're not on 0 outs, but
I'm just skeptical that stuff like resolves or whatever too in the face of all this card drawing and whatnot. But
you're in the 3-0 match,
Yeah, right.
I'm not saying you're not allowed to keep playing. I'm just, if the seats were reversed, Brian would have conceded 7 turns ago. So
wow, yeah.
I guess we just have both extremes of that spectrum on display here.
Right.
Sure.
With the clock, he's seen enough, and with, I think, drawing yet another land there as well.
Yeah, land number 8 was not, or 9 or whatever that was. It's not doing it for me.
Which I believe is the first game 1 that you lost, right? You've won the last 2, so.
I think so. And this, if I recall correct, I mulliganed to 6.
Yeah, I was about to say, considering that last game was a mulligan to 5, we thought came out pretty close, really, but
and I ended up keeping 1 land. Ended up keeping 1 land here and some gas in my hand.
Inquisition of Kozilek reader from Modern Player Brian. Maybe he's just admiring.
Is surely a more or less question here. Like,
yeah, almost. Yeah, without a doubt.
God knows what I'm doing here. Just showing somebody.
It's like you're showing somebody a card.
Oh, it's probably going, hey, would you have kept this?
Yeah, there is the more or less. Decides not to cast it. I guess it doesn't really do anything because even if you reduce it, you just lose the Strix, which you're probably losing anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna lose 2 cards.
I can see it's a 2/1.
More or less can kill this now. Yeah, which I don't hate after not playing a land. I mean, I'm sure you hated it, but me sitting here
I didn't feel good about it.
in my tower. My tower.
Is Brian also missing?
Yeah, Brian also did not play a third land, so which
Yeah, we sit and just draw cards for a couple turns here.
generally I would say that this would advantage you, but with not drawing a second land, I'm not even sure that that's true because
Yeah, and Brian did hit first on top of it, so okay, but we get to kill that.
Surely.
I did not expect her coming for damage. No.
get these guys out of here.
That's not tilt. What are you talking about?
It's fine. Everything's fine.
It is fine. And fun, casual magic amongst friends.
Looks like we're discarding to hand size here, and Brian's booster tutoring. So
What was that? A present a cut? Come on, Brian. Read the room, guy. There's the thought erasure.
There's
again.
the thought erasure.
So he took it out. That's good.
Okay, so he does thought erasure me again. Oh no, he Dark Cavern's back. I saw it twice. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Which I guess means that he was pulling from the same stack of cards every time. He just shuffled them up, I guess. So because there were a couple
which
other...
is why we for the cut, I guess.
Yeah. Makes sense. Maybe a little bit more wieldy than, just shuffling 100 cards every time. But yeah, I don't think it's too hard to see why you were willing to keep this hand. I mean,
yeah, it was Swamp, Forsaken Miner, Bone Splinters, Light Up the Stage,
Lightning Bolt.
Lightning Bolt. Yeah, and I think there was something else. Like it was just if I draw a mountain, I'm gassed up.
Right.
Good to go.
Which, I mean, is still true, and it's not like he's pressuring you too terribly much.
No, but I'm giving the control deck a huge turn advantage right
Yeah, I'm not saying this is optimal, but I don't think the game is lost quite yet.
So we're going to Halo Forager the Inquisition, I believe, here.
Sure.
Which takes the light up the stage.
I want to take Lightning Bolt with that personally, but...
Really?
I think this turn is Crack Desk into a mountain, and then now you can still Lightning Bolt on this turn,
The Lightning Bolt doesn't matter that much, right?
Well, you can Lightning Bolt the bat, get your Bone Shards back, and then you can Bone Shards the Halo Forager next turn, or whatever else he plays. But
it lets you make a play, whereas I don't think you get to make any play if
I guess, yeah, this is actually fine. Maybe we just don't care about the bat. You just skip the middleman.
I don't know. It's like a small thing that probably does not matter in this game, but I noticed it, so I said it. What do you want from me?
How dare you provide commentary when we're doing commentary?
All right, so we're starting to draw out of it now. But yeah, it might be too late. It might be.
But he saw it coming, so.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind that Brian missed 2 land drops, I believe, which has to just mean that his hand is nothing but spells at this point. At least 1. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 that he missed, but regardless.
There's the frustration from the greedy keep or
I'd say risky. Yeah, I wouldn't even say greedy. You kept knowing that there was a potential fail rate, although this is probably on the extreme side of it. Like you went 6 or 7 turns, it feels like, without making a land. So,
yeah.
So this March Flitter actually seems really good. I mean, obviously, any number of cards that Brian has can just ruin it, but I mean, it can block the bat. Semi-advantageously, I guess you're 1 for 1 of yourself, but you're also getting your Bone Shards back, which can kill Thrix. So let's see if we choose to go that route.
He offers it up. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
But with the
really
eldest free, it really just doesn't matter, right? He's just
Yeah, I mean, he can get it back. That's true. And I mean, I guess you can just chump it for a turn, let the Eldest Reborn end, and then, although if he just gets the bat back, he can take the Bone Shards at that point, so.
yeah. Not hard lock, but man.
Not great, Jim.
You don't have a lot of great moves, that's for sure.
Well, we're not chumping. Step one.
Oh. Turn him sideways. Yeah, Mayhem Devil and Sacrifice. You get an extra point then. Get some.
Yeah.
A little scary. The Eldest Reborn is both graveyards, right? Like he could get that Marsh Splitter now.
Yeah, you can get the Marsh Splitter, you get Thrix.
Yeah, I guess there were already good options for it to get, but Marsh Splitter does seem, it's 3 bodies. I just feel like, I don't know if there's any way you could play that turn where it doesn't die, but
Cut down.
Yeah, this is just
Textbook.
Rubbing.
minus the turn or two of missing land drops. This has been pretty clinical, I feel, of this blue-black deck. I assume we're just getting Thrix back here. Makes all our spells cheaper. Yeah. Although Isreth has Death Touch or Menace?
Death Touch.
Okay, so although I guess Brian's probably not much in the blocking camp at this point.
Well, he just showed us a Crimson Knight.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. At this point, Brian has board advantage, land advantage, card advantage. I mean, he's got it all locked up here.
Mental advantage.
Hey, don't forget a head on life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unfamiliar with cards that cost 4 mana that can deal 24 damage, but
I think we didn't
Flamestone Kabu is a card, I guess.
Didn't even activate Narset on our last turn, I think. Didn't need it.
Yeah. Maybe he had 7 cards in hand, he would have to discard,
Could be, yeah. Him, and it's just done.
Oh.
So 3-0 attempt falls. Congrats to Brian.
Yep, 2 really fun matches to watch. And then that last one.
Was that a 3-0 for Brian?
It was a 3-0 for Brian, yeah. That was an 8-man draft, so we had the full bracket, so yep, Brian's
fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, Brian's first 3 of the season. And I know obviously from your seat, it's not as entertaining to watch a match like that, but it is always kind of cool to see a deck like that operate so efficiently on its axis.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Take my personal stake out of it, and it was wild to watch.
Yeah.
Smoke me.
Yeah, so I don't know. Any final thoughts on your deck or this draft before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I mean, I really needed the Goblin Bombardment, which ended up being in the draft. But whoever was across from me, so I guess that technically beat my right. That was at the end of the table. Ended up taking it. I think I don't know if he ended up playing it.
Yeah, it does look like Goblin Bombardment made Spurlock's deck. It looks like he actually took a lot of cards that you would have loved to have had.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a lot of things in here that kind of incredible that both of you built decks that look as well as they do, considering you were sitting right next to each other.
Yeah, he kind of ended up towing the line between a sacrifice deck and an aggro or and a reanimator
deck. Yeah, kind of surprised he didn't take that victimize.
Yeah, you can see all 3 of the free recursive sacrifice outlets are in his deck: the Bombardment, the Carrion Feeder, and the Viscera Seer.
Yep.
But I think I was talking to him after the draft. He had first picked Gut, which is that still the best red card in Vintage Cube?
That's probably pretty close, yeah.
So I can't really blame him too much.
Unless you want to count a Johnny as a red card, I think it probably is, yeah.
But no real thoughts.
Head empty
At all times, especially on a Sunday afternoon.
Well, thanks for joining us for commentary, Bats. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, guys.
So with that, we do have our winner for today's draft. Congratulations to Brian for taking down today's draft, his first 3-0 of the current season. With that result in the books, that wraps up our drafts from this week, so we can take a quick look at the overall season standings. With only 5 draft days left to go to determine who will be invited to the Cube Invitational, things are starting to tighten up a bit, with Pellman, Matt, and Scott all knotted up with 15 points total from their best finishes, followed closely by Joey and Spurlock with 13 each. Daniel, Prose, and JT are rounding out the invites currently at this point with 10 total wins, though Brian and Bats are not far behind with 7 each. Be sure to tune back in over the next few weeks to keep an eye on who manages to actually make it into the Cube Invitational. You can find more info on today's draft in the description of the video below, including a link to the Cube Cobra with the entire cube listed. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we hope you come back next time.